the Mets select Miguel Andujar from the New York Yankees because I believe they will offer him. But
he's hurt.
True, but I just can't see a trade with the Mets and the Yankees, especially for such a good pitcher like Syndergaard. I feel like the Padres could be a wild card for him, though. Certainly with their strong farm system.
Yeah, maybe they throw in, like, I doubt they throw in Tatis, but maybe they go Taylor and Jacob Lucchesi. I don't know who else. Maybe that's a possibility.
Probably Mackenzie Gore, maybe. Luis Urias. Luis Patino. They have a lot of guys there. Maybe even a Stroh trade for San Diego for Michael Baez, who just got called up recently.
Yeah, it's always a possibility. Anything else to add on the trade, or before we? I guess do we have time for a mailbag?
I have one question before. What's one team that you guys don't want to deal with in terms of trading? For me, it would be Boston. I just don't like their farm system.
Preach. Anything Boston farm system, the team, don't care, don't like them.
Yeah, they just don't have much to offer, really, and which sucks because they seem to be really all over Giles and Hudson, as they should be. They really need a closer and late-inning relief. So, maybe if they had some other guys there, more of a deep farm system, they could overpay for guys like that. But, yeah, Boston in the division, really not a whole lot to offer. I'm going to make it 3. Unanimous.
Speaking of Daniel Hudson trade, I believe you guys think we should, it's possible that we can get a return for a trade that we got for Swung Hon Oh, right?
Right. I don't think so because I think O had another year left on his contract, but Daniel Hudson's a free agent, so.
But O just got released. O just got released.
Yeah, but when they made the trade, he had another year on left.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, so I doubt it.
I'm interested to see what Freddie Galvis and Eric Sogard's market is, and what a return they can get for us.
I think you can get more for Galvis, but if I were the Blue Jays, if I have to trade one, I'd trade Sogard. We've talked about this at volumes. Just that, as well as Eric Sogard has been playing, it's hard to believe that this is who he is now, that he's hitting a qualified 300, which is still unbelievable to me. If someone told you that at the trade deadline Eric Sogard would be a qualified 300 hitter, I would have looked at you like you had two heads. But here we are. And yeah, I think one of them gets traded, and it'll probably be Sogard.
Yeah, but Galvis to the Brewers is an interesting fit, certainly, with their shortstop, Arcia. But yeah, Galvis would be certainly a nice guy off the bench for the Blue Jays. And Sogard, yeah, I can see him getting traded easily.
What would the return be for Sogard? I know you had your bold prediction about Eric Sogard, but realistically, with a guy that has never hit 300, career 230 hitter, a guy who has hit a total of 6 home runs in his career, the guy's doubled that, or maybe it could be less than that now. But he's been incredible this year. Now with the mark, I don't know what the market is for Eric Sogard. Like you mentioned. I don't know. I don't know what you see. What would the difference in market, I guess, be between Eric Sogard and Freddie Galvis?
I had Tyson Miller going back in my mock prediction, and he's 23 years old. He's a 19th ranked prospect for the Cubs right now, and he was picked in the 4th round. And he's 6'4", and he has a 2.56 ERA in Double-A this year. So he's a pretty nice pitcher with a nice fastball, it says in his scouting report, that can peak at 95. So I feel like we should get at least one top 30 prospect, especially in a depleted Chicago Cubs prospect tier group.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't even think they can get even that. I feel that Eric Sogard, at the end of the day, people will look at his career numbers and see that this guy, not all that long ago, was barely even a big league player, like MLB caliber player. So I find it difficult that you look at anything of substance for Eric Sogard unless, like I said, you package him with a Smoke or a Giles or even a Daniel Hudson. I just don't see anyone giving up anything that, even a lottery ticket. I think that's all you're going to get from that. Maybe I'm a little pessimistic on that, but I just don't see any return of substance for Eric Sogard alone.
Are there any deals in pass that can replicate a Sogard trade, and we can see like what they got in return?
Maybe like Steve Pierce. That's probably the one I can think of. Both similar type players, utility guys. Obviously not similar type players. Pierce is more of a power hitting first baseman. Sogard's more of a infielder, depth infielder who can play a bit of outfield. But they're both sort of utility players. And don't forget, Steve Pierce is a guy who's had a much better career than Eric Sogard, and we didn't really get much for him. So. Yeah.
All right, you guys want to move on to the mailbag?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, good.
All right, so I had more. I feel like this was the heaviest mailbag we've ever had. I believe more than 100.
Surprise.
Like I believe it was more than 100 questions, but
Oh
I only have 10 questions.
Jeez.
I'm like 20 or so questions right now, and from Chris Stratford, he says, "When can we expect movement from the Jays?"
I would say in the next few days. That I mean, like you guys talked about earlier, I thought today was going to be a day just because of the off day and everything. But I mean, clearly nothing has happened as of yet. But I think within the next few days, once the weekend hits, things are going to start picking up because we don't want to wait till the last second and have guys with great value not get moved and then lose into free agency for nothing. So I think within the next few days, we're going to start to see some movement.
Yeah, ditto. I feel that all the players that are to be traded, I think that their value is pretty well established. To me, with every day that's passing by, it's another opportunity for them to get injured and hurt their value. So, really, as soon as possible, I think you can start seeing guys be moved, whether it's this weekend, but certainly, I mean, obviously the trade deadline is on July 31st, but yeah, very, very soon.
Yeah, Hug Watch will certainly be soon for the Blue Jays, and just need that one domino to fall down, and everything will go smoothly from there. Then we got Karthik, excuse me if I mispronounced your name, _U04. He said, what do you think Giles should get back in return? He said, I heard some analysis say that due to his bad history of closing in the playoffs, his value won't be as high among playoff contenders. Do you believe that's true?
It's so hard to tell, right? I mean, yeah, it is. In the past, he has had some issues closing in playoff games, but you look at the year that he's putting together right now, and you don't worry about what. I mean, you can't really worry about what's happened in the past because you look at David Price when he got traded over to the Blue Jays. His playoff numbers weren't great, but even though he didn't win a playoff game for the Jays, he didn't necessarily pitch bad. He was still very good. So for Ken Giles, I don't know if you look at that too much. I think you look at the way he's pitching right now and how his confidence is and how his pitches are biting and how he's doing against good teams, playoff teams. And if he's dominating him and if he's doing his thing, then I don't know if those numbers mean as much.
Yeah, 100% agree with that as well. I think with the way Ken Giles has been pitching this year, there's really not many guys that you can say are definitively better than him. I think a guy who can throw as hard as he does, pitch in the high leverage situations as he has, and with the way he's pitched overall this year, I think you can get yourself as good of a return as you and anyone has ever gotten for a reliever. I mean, that being said, will they get a Gleyber Torres like the Yankees got for Chapman? Probably not, because that in itself was a little unprecedented, but I think they can get something nice. I think the only question really with Giles is his health. He had that elbow issue before the All-Star break, but other than that, if he's proven to be healthy and everything looks good on the medical report, I'm expecting relatively nice return for Ken Giles.
And we have to think that there aren't many good relievers on this trade deadline market.
Yeah, who else is really out there that, I mean...
Will Smith?
Hendricks maybe, but yeah, Will Smith, but he might not get traded.
Yeah.
The Giants are all of a sudden back in it.
So it'll be nice for the Blue Jays to get a nice return for Giles.
And it's nice because a lot of the players that Blue Jays are trying to trade are like the cream of the crop, right? You got Marcus Stroman, who could possibly be the number one starter at the trade deadline here, and then you have Giles, who could be the number one closer at the trade deadline. So the Blue Jays have to cash in now if they're going to. If they're not going to sign Stroman, which now we're hearing we have no idea what the heck's going to happen. This could be a decoy trying to make the value go up more. I don't know. I don't know the whole situation about that, but they could have the top starter and the top reliever ready to get shipped out for probably a boatload of prospects because they're the top of the class. So it's going to be really interesting. I don't know I'm excited.
But yeah, I'm going to stick with my gut and say Giles to Minnesota. And Minnesota has a nice farm. It'd be even Atlanta, so any of those two teams to trade Giles would be nice because Alex Kirilloff is really just a really nasty prospect. And I feel like if the Jays could snag him, but speaking of Giles, you think the Jays would package him and Stroman or separate deals for them?
I think we talked about this on the last podcast. I think our consensus was that each of them has enough value on their own where you wouldn't really need to package them. But that being said, it's trades they're all brainstorming. You can always offer up trades. Teams can always offer up unlimited amount of permutations that you trade these guys for. And if someone's willing to give up, a cream of the crop type prospect for them packaged, maybe you consider it. But I think in separate deals, you can get a nice return for either or.
All right, the next question comes from Tristan Moss _ What is the chance that Stroman gets traded?
If you talked to me about a couple hours ago, I would have told you it's like 80 to 90%. But now hearing this report come out, I don't know, man.
I think it's a leverage move.
Yeah, it could be. Because I've heard a lot. Trust me, we've heard a lot of reports when it comes to Kawhi Leonard, and there was a lot of garbage with that went absolutely nowhere. So I've kind of gone off the whole, this report came out. Who cares? If he signs, he signs. If he gets traded, he gets traded. But if I had to say, what are the chances? I think I still might stay in that range of like 70 to 80%. He's gone.
Yeah, I even go even a little higher. I'm going to say, before I heard the report, I went like 99% really. And the reason why it was that high is because there was really no indication of an extension. There was no life to an extension talk. And now that it's being brought up, maybe you could see it. But I still think that Marcus Stroman, he can get a lot in free agency next year when he hits the market. And I just don't feel that the Blue Jays are willing to tether that kind of money to them right away, given their current state. So ultimately, I don't think they agree to an extension within the next week, and he does get traded. That's what I've thought, and I'm going to give him 90% chance on that.
Yeah, and the last thing we need is some more Ari Abrahams on Twitter.
Yeah, what was going on with that? I know it's the Blue Jays podcast, but what was up with that guy? I never really knew what was the hype.
I believe he was like a Laker fan who stalked players from meetings, and that's how he got his sources.
Oh, okay. So we can just move on.
Yeah. All right, just gonna round it off because we're running out of time. Will Mandazuk says, what two teams would have the best prospects for the Jays to be incited on?
I think we've already talked about quite a few of those polls. We talked about the there's a difference between teams that are willing to package guys in a trade and prospect pools. I think you look at the teams that are not the greatest. Look at a team like San Diego. You look at a team like Atlanta, Minnesota. Those are teams that you look at, and those are the teams that have been bad for many years. Obviously Atlanta's starting. Obviously, last year was their upbringing, and this year they're having a great year too. And Minnesota's having a great season too. But for years and years, they've not been very good. So you can kind of go through that and get a gist of it, right? You look at the great teams now. The Houston Astros, they had one of the best minor league systems out there. I don't know where they are now when it comes to ranking minor league systems, but with all their younger players coming up and being on the team and trading them away for obviously guys like Justin Verlander and guys like that, yeah, they dwindle off a bit. But you look at the teams that have not been good for very years, and you can just pinpoint it right there. If you've been watching baseball a while and you know the teams that have not been very good on a year-to-year basis, those are usually the teams with the best minor league systems.
And what helps is that these teams, you mentioned, they haven't been very good for a while. So maybe the fact that they want to get back into the playoffs while they have a chance, they'd be willing to give up a little more. And we saw that firsthand with the Blue Jays, a team that has been bad for 2 decades and once he saw that the door was opening, they were willing to give up a lot of guys who they really valued. Guys like Jeff Hoffman, guys like Daniel Norris, Matt Boyd, and yeah. So